What? You're gonna blow up Atlantis in an hour's time? But Anya's on Atlantis. Give me 40 minutes. I'll get her back. Where's my equipment that Q sent over? That's special. Amphibious equipment. Fuck it. She's Russian and she's married to Ringo Starr. Peace and love. No. Nobody does it better. Nobody. Not you. Not you. Not you. Maybe I can. Hey folks. Kilt-Man here. Commander Kilt-Man. Hope you're all doing very well. For Queen and Country. And for whiskey. Cheers y'all. Bravo. For England, James. No. For Scotland. The Spy Who Loved Me. Welcome to the second part of what's going to be quite an epic review of this movie. Made in 1976, came out in 1977. Absolutely tremendous. One of the best James Bond movies there is. Yes, we all know and love Sean Connery. We all loved the new Daniel Craig movies, the gritty, realistic edge. But that's kind of gone as well. Dalton was awesome. Lazenby is fucking magnificent. But, you know, I'm not going to talk about Lazenby throughout this, because I love that movie too much. I don't want it derailing this. But I personally grew up with Roger Moore. Not literally. My favourite stepfather, you know. They're the movies I grew up with. I watched all the Sean Connery ones, and now I totally adore them. But the ones I grew up with and the ones I totally admired and was really inspired by were Roger Moore. There's no two ways about it. Larger than life, huge, you know, massive sets, stupid, ridiculous, stunt-filled set pieces, toupees flying everywhere, you know. But you had that with Sean Connery as well. Let's not forget. But girls who were way too young for this guy to bed, but it worked. It worked. Live and Let Die was a whole culture shock for the Bond franchise in terms of style, the actor, the action, and the music. Then you got Man with the Golden Gun, which I personally adore, but many people don't, because it's a very low-key adventure for what was becoming a huge, you know, the franchise was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. That was the idea. And then Saltzman and Cubby Broccoli realised after the dismal sort of returns and critical reviews of Man with the Golden Gun that no, we must emulate what happened with Goldfinger. When Goldfinger came together for Sean Connery, guns, gadgets, girls, awesome bad guy, larger than life plot, huge, everything was there, set pieces, cool par excellence. We've got to do the same for Roger. So, for more, we need more. Spy Who Loved Me comes about. And it's taken from the 1962 novel from Ian Fleming, which I've got here somewhere. Where is it? I've got it somewhere. Here it is. I'm sorry, my own Atlantis is now sinking slowly, so this might be a bit waterlogged. There's my original copy of The Spy Who Loved Me. Now, The Spy Who Loved Me, that book is a radical departure from the James Bond literary franchise that Ian Fleming had created. Ian Fleming did not like the way that James Bond was being idolised by kids, and the way that his books were being read in schools. You know, with all the sexism and the sex and the violence. He thought, no, I don't want kids and little lads idolising this guy. He's a ruthless killer. He's working for a government which Ian Fleming knew to be not the greatest and not the most trustworthy is any government. You know, no shockers there, no spoiler alert there. So he endeavoured to write this, and this is a novel which is meant to be, and I love the way he did this. It was almost like someone had given him a manuscript. This is what happened, I met this man, and it's sent to Ian Fleming. It's all fiction, but a woman had written it, and so because he'd written other James Bond stories, and she was like, I met this man, he saved me one night, he loved me for one night, and he saved me, he's the spy that loved me. and she's basically an upper class tramp who's fallen hard times, and she incurs the wrath of the local mob. She's in a motel up in upstate New York, and two horrible goons are coming to torch the place and kill her as well. But Bond inadvertently strays into all this, realises what's going on, and saves the day, and gives her the loving of her life, you know. And then next morning, he's gone, leaving her a little note saying, "Don't trust anyone like me, because we're all bastards at heart." And even the police who turn up to save her, the readers know, he's right. Don't trust anyone, love. That's the whole idea behind it, and it's great. But well, it's not great. It's a bit of a shit story, to be honest. But it's a nice little departure from the norm, and I admire Ian Fleming for doing that. And I think it could have worked in a different context. Just in the literary franchise, it could really have been something special. Just the same guy, but told from someone else's perspective. But the story itself just isn't that good. But it has got two goons in it who are just these mob enforcers and assassins. And one of them is called Sol Horowitz. He's got metal teeth. Does that remind you of anyone? Excuse me one moment while I put my hand into your jaws and fish out some other jaws. Little Funko jaws. Little Richard Keel there. Little Richard Keel? Does that make any sense at all? And there he is with his metal teeth. It's a little Funko version. I'm going to put him back in Bruce the Shark's jaws there. Irony, if you will, which we'll come on to, of course. This is going to be a big celebration. So, you know, please kick back, get a drink, and let's enjoy ourselves here. So, Ian Fleming had said, when Eon and the Broccolis took over and wanted to buy all the rights to the books, and he said, yeah, you can have them, yeah, of course you can. But The Spy Who Loved Me, no one liked it. That was an experiment that went awry. That's a quote from Ian Fleming. No one liked it. Critics hated it. The fans despised it. It just didn't work. I knew what I was doing at the time, but it was a bad idea. So please, when you come to film that, you've just got to radically rechange the story. As if they were ever going to film that version anyway. You'd already had, you know, the 60s and into the 70s of Sean Connery as Bond, with a hint of Lazenby as well. And then Roger Moore took over. You couldn't have gone to a basic story like that. You just couldn't have done it. So massively rewritten. And I also have the novelisation of the movie by the great Christopher Wood, who was a co-writer on the movie itself. So this is his actual movie version of the story, which is excellent. So let's put that somewhere over there. Oh, I put it right next to the bottle of whiskey. Oops, James. So, made in 1976, released in 1977, The Spy Who Loved Me broke all records for Bond. The stunt work, the sets, they just built the massive 007 set at Pinewood Studios. Fucking huge. It's the size of a football field. In fact, it's bigger than that. They can put a huge bloody, you know, pool in there as well. Massive walls and hydraulics and everything. God, an unbelievable feat of engineering, which can be changed and refigured and redressed for whatever scene they need and whatever, you know, the sequence or movie might be. Roger Moore's back on board, and the thing is, for Goldfinger for Sean, we're going to do this for you, Roger. So everything's going to be here. Brilliant. Now, the plot. So the plot's there's no hotel rooms upstate New York, none of that shite. Stromberg, Kurt Jürgens, German actor Kurt Jürgens, who gets a bit of a bad rap for this movie. A lot of people say that he's one of the most forgettable villains. I kind of understand why to a degree, but I quite like him. I like his simple, matter-of-fact way of saying what he's saying. The fact that he won't shake hands because he's got webbed fingers. The fact that he will abstractly, absent-mindedly kill his own people. You look at the start of this movie, you've got, for Stromberg, I mean now, he's sitting there in Atlantis, his huge sort of crustacean-shaped spider crab thing, which will rise up on huge struts, a great big Ken Adam miniature, Ken Adam does all the, oh no, it was Derek Meddings. I get the names mixed up. Ken Adam does all the huge set designs, but there's loads of guys who do all the miniatures and the, the superimposition shots and that. We won't get bogged down with all that, but this fucking huge Atlantis thing, his base of operations, and he'll be sitting there, and he's got these guys these scientists who've helped him for his master plan, and he says pretty much straight away, like, look, there's 20 million going to be, diverted to your accounts, so don't worry. But gentlemen, before you go, and he's sitting at one end of a 40-foot long trestle table. It is 40 foot long, and at the other end is a gorgeous blonde girl who's like a little secretary who's just taking notes and having dinner at the same time. And he says there's just one development which is quite unfortunate. Someone has been leaking information, so someone we can't trust. But don't worry, it's been taken care of. Oh, Miss whatever your fucking name is, like, you're just a minion. We don't need you right now. So off she goes to the lift. And of course, like many other megalomaniacs with their huge, super massive lairs and booby traps and what have you, she gets in the lift, and straight away he raises all these works of art around him, can rise up, and you can see the sea and all these they filmed all those shots of those beautiful fish, those really rare, marine life, were filmed off the coast of Okinawa. A lot of the other footage was filmed in the Bahamas, but all those scenes of fish, if you see it, from Okinawa. And these paintings rise, and these two poor guys are shifting a bit uneasily. Shit, what's going on here? And he goes, right, presses a button with his webbed fingers, and this poor girl, her skirt goes up, and down a chute she goes when the elevator floor just gives way, down into a tank beneath, and they're watching as a tiger shark. The tiger shark is actually in the Bahamas, but the set is actually in Pinewood Studios. The magic of movies, folks. And the stunt girl is there, and what was filmed looks really, really effective. When you think that Jaws had come out, the film Jaws had come out a couple of years before, and they massively used Jaws, Richard Keel, the teeth, and the whole thing about sharks. Sharks have been in the James Bond 007 folklore for many of the books and many of the movies. So this was no big surprise to see a big shark there, and that shark goes for it. Now I know I've been asked about this to try and find out information, because I know people have been saying this is actually a really shocking scene. It is a shocking scene, and it would be mimicked a little bit more in Moonraker, where Hugo Drax has Corinne wolfed down by his hellhounds in a really shocking sequence. And this is a preemptive of that one. And the shark goes for it, and you see the shark nuzzling this stunt woman who's in the water. And but it's just a great scene. It's a terrifically frightening scene, and it really, really works. This shark it looks like it's going for it, but really it's probably just having a good sniff and saying, ooh, yeah, you human females. Yes, I can see why people want to eat you. But looks like I'm going bald there. But what's happened is my little Sean Connery, my little Roger Moore sort of hairdo. Oh, fuck the hairdo. It's me all along. Look, yeah, it's me. All of a sudden, it's like Roger Moore and Sean Connery both nicked a toupee out of the MGM lion's mane. But there you go, folks. So, it is me. But she gets troubled by this shark. Roger Moore will see, when he goes to visit Stromberg, he'll see a severed hand when he looks through the windows into the sea, into that tank. The severed hand is there, and it's a nice little grisly touch they put in there. So anyway, Stromberg's plan. What's his plan? He, like Captain Nemo for Jules Verne, he hates what mankind has done. Mankind is turning the world into an ecological disaster by waging war upon himself, and he despairs of mankind. So he then builds the Nautilus, and he destroys warships. But his idea is to build, to live a life undersea. So, Stromberg is very, very clearly based upon that. Although no one ever seems to talk about that, but that connection is clearly there to me. So his idea is a bit like they take ideas from You Only Live Twice, where satellites and rockets are abducted in mid-space by Blofeld and his nefarious plans, and the whole thing will be looked at again with Moonraker, but we'll come on to that in later days. So his huge ship, the Liparus, which is the biggest freighter in the world, it's a massive, massive, massive structure. In actual fact, it's a 40-foot miniature. But that's a 40-foot miniature. Does that make any sense to you? It's massive, but it's a miniaturized version of this super freighter whose bow doors will open, and they can use electronic weaponry to completely destroy the communications and the power of nuclear subs, and then the subs will rise to the surface and they'll go and just go, whoop, I'm having you. So they nick a British one, a Russian one, and the idea is, what Stromberg's master plan is, that he wants to get these are nuclear subs, he's going to program them so they can fire nuclear weapons at New York and Moscow, thereby creating World War III and the annihilation of most of mankind. So then he can then rebuild humanity down below the ocean waves in a huge domed citadel, a new formed Atlantis, a new civilization. It's preposterous, it's pure fucking bonkers, but that's the point. It's meant to be. So, into this fray, you're going to get James Bond. 007 is going to be brought in, because where's our subs? Our subs are going missing. What's happening there? And ushering in the era of détente with Russia, which really didn't last a great deal, and no one ever really bought into it anyway, let's be honest. So, but he and the KGB's super agent Triple X, played by the luscious, incredibly gorgeous Barbara Bach in this, who is, and in a great little moment, this is the pre-credits now. You've got Bond is bedding a girl in supposedly Austria, on a bare rock in front of a roaring fire out on the Austrian Alps. Really, it's up Baffin Island, which is up beyond the Arctic Circle, in the furthermost reaches of Canada, and they're up there. He's shagging her, and you see Agent Triple X is shagging somebody else in another cabin somewhere else, and you get the impression that the man is the super Russian agent. I've still got my mission in Austria to fulfill. I've got to leave you now. Oh, just 5 more minutes, says Barbara Bach, and all of a sudden, like, Dr. Zhivago theme goes off on a little like alarm clock, and a message comes through: Agent Triple X, we need you. She is Agent Triple X. He is her lover, also in the KGB, also a Soviet spy, but his mission is to go and kill Bond in Austria. So off he goes to Austria, and Bond kills him. Yay! Symmetry takes place. Bond then has to work with Anya, who's lost her fella, and then works out during the movie that, hang on a minute, you in Austria? My fellow's in Austria. Did you kill anyone in Austria? Well, I may have done, yes. I didn't take his name. I'm getting shot at all the time. And I kill everybody that tries to do that kind of shit. And she's like, well, when this mission's over, I'm going to kill you. Okay, well, another drink, my dear. It's just, the two of these have got to work together, and they are meant, they're billed as being the same powers, same skills. She's the best that Russia's got, he's the best that we've got. And you've got to remember that, like, in Daniel Craig's tenure, and you've got women, especially in the new film coming, if we ever do get to see it, No Time to Die, you've got other agents from MI6 who are female and on a par with Bond. They can do the same shit as him. They're equally as adept at hand-to-hand combat, weapons, everything. They can do it. Now, back in the 70s, Barbara Bach is great in this role as Anya, and she is terrific at karate chops. There's loads of this, and so she can do it, but she's also a bit of a damsel in distress. She has to be rescued as well. So it's kind of like it's pandering to two schools. We're going to move forward, but we're also, we're not going to lose the fact that Bond must save the day. He might need her help occasionally, and she's along for the ride, and she can handle herself in some situations, but she still needs him. So you're not going to leave, you're not going to jettison all that baggage of Bond, the male chauvinist, sexist pig that he is, and got to be the male hero. So these have got to work together. Find out where the subs are going. Now there's all shenanigans with a microfilm, there's all sorts of stuff going on, and of course Stromberg's got his two assassins, Richard Keel, Jaws, a much bigger version of that, 7'2", with horrible steel teeth, covering his own teeth, and they hurt him so much that he couldn't film for more than like 4 or 5 minutes at a time, and no matter what his expression had to be, he was in agony the whole time. So the minute cut, get them out, Jesus. And it's a bit of a shame because the stuntmen that played him in certain long shots, which you didn't even need the friggin' teeth because it's a long shot, but they put them in anyway. They were just like aluminium, just tinfoil wrapped around the teeth, and like looking at them. Watch out if you've got fillings, obviously, but it's a great henchman. You've got, I keep forgetting this guy's name, who plays Shandor, his cohort that Stromberg unleashes. Anyone who comes into contact with a microfilm that's got the details of all the pathways of these nuclear subs, where we're going to pick them up from, anyone who's come into contact with that, because that's been leaked, you see, it's gone to Egypt, and so hence some more exotic locations you can be utilising for the movie, which works supremely well. And so he unleashes big 7'2" Jaws and Shandor, played by, what is his name again? I've forgotten his name. He was in Hammer movies, he's been in other James Bond movies, he was a wrestler as well. I forgot his name. It doesn't matter. But he's a little hulking brute, but he's nothing compared when the two, Shandor, Stromberg calls him forward. You will take orders from Jaws, and then Jaws comes in, and Jaws is like 7'2", but Shandor's quite happy about it. So Bond goes to, they've got a tip off that get to Egypt, that's where the microfilm could be. So once you get onto that, you might find out the links to whoever's taking our subs, but get onto this first. So off he goes, and he will meet Shandor, who's an assassin who kills a woman that's lured Bond in, trying to meet a guy called Fakesh. I always think it's called Fagash though, and but Fagash is busy somewhere else, and Bond realises, oh shit, hang on a minute, this is a setup, it's a trap. So a sniper bullet, he turns the body around the poor girl who's trying to seduce him to try and distract him, gets shot. He then goes after Shandor, has a massive battle on the rooftop, which is fucking amazing, and then has a scene reproduced in Quantum of Solace with Daniel Craig, where Shandor is actually holding on to Bond's tie, and Bond just goes, "Where's Fakesh?" And he goes, "Oh, pyramid!" So Bond just goes, he doesn't say thank you, but it basically just goes like, "Thank you," hits the tie away, guy hits the deck. What pyramid? You're in Egypt, for God's sake. Sorry, I'm rehashing gags I used in the previous video. But yes, this is what Bond's all about, rehashing of stuff all over and over again. If it worked before, it'll work again. Just make it bigger, ballsier, brassier, whiskier. Play the Kilt-Man drinking game. Whenever I have a swig, you have a swig, and let's see who lasts. With my feet just sticking up like that in a bit. But so we have the great set piece in the pyramids, and Bond goes in there. Now Anya has already got there, Barbara Bach, Agent Triple X, and she's met Fakesh, but Fakesh in the lights sees Jaws is there. Shandor's been killed already. He didn't last long, did he? But Jaws, he can't fucking kill Jaws. Jaws just keeps coming back and back and back and back, which is why we love him. He's awesome. So, and Jaws puts the bite on Fakesh, because if Fakesh sees him, shits himself and tries to run and bury himself in like one of the Pharaoh's catacombs. You know, like fucking. And he puts a chain around the the iron gate, and of course Jaws comes up and with his steel chompers, it's actually made out of licorice, and apparently Richard Kiel loved licorice, so he quite happily devoured into that. And Bond's pursued this, and he's, how do you do that? And of course he goes in there and he finds Vikesh, fucking smacks him against the wall, and then just turns his head over and puts the bite on him and gets the microfilm out of him. Bond arrives there, quickly followed by Anya and a few of her associates. So Bond comes out, sees her. In fact, Bond actually confronts Jaws, and in a great moment of great direction and lighting and all that, and suspense, because it's a terrifying scene. Jaws just comes out, dusts himself down, and sees Bond, and Bond's got his gun out like that, you know, his Walther, and Jaws just stands there, not sure what to do. And then the lights go out. It's a big light show for the tourists at the Valley of the Kings. It's a huge light show, which is a very famous show. And apparently, when they filmed it there, the people who ran that show said, like, look, you can film, you can film here and use all our words and our footage and all that, like, but you can't leave until the end of the show. So they had to stay. They filmed there for a few nights, but each time it was on, they had to stay until the end of it. Oh, fucking hell, yeah, I've learned enough about pharaohs now. I've had enough of it. I've had a fair old time here, but now I'm out. So Bond confronts Jaws, the lights go out, then Jaws disappears. And that's a great trick that they do with Richard Kiel. He's 7'2". He's a big lumbering giant, and yet he seems to magically teleport around places, and it gives him this huge aura of mystery and almost supernatural abilities, which really enhances, you know, your terror of this guy. So Bond then, he's gone, finds the body. Oh, microphone's gone. Shit. So, right, comes out again, and he meets Anya, and Anya's goons leap on him, but Roger Moore and his stunt double kick shite out of these guys. By the way, I've got to address something here about Roger Moore and the stunt doubling that takes place. If you listen to the commentaries and you read the books and they're making these movies, it's not, these early ones especially, it's not that Roger Moore doesn't want to do the stunts. He did. Roger Moore did plenty of stunts, but what happened is insurance just became too much. It just wasn't worth the risk of, like, oh, can't afford this, you know. And this is a Bond movie, and the Bond producers would shower millions for any reason, but when it came to, like, insurance of the lead man, you couldn't do it. You couldn't break that bond. So a lot of sequences which, you know, Roger Moore could easily do. You see him doing high kicks, you see him punching shit out of people, you do see him get thrown around, but intermixed with a lot of these fight sequences, like this one outside the tombs in this enigmatic lighting, you will see that, well, you can't help but see it. His normal standing would be there just for like one shot, boom, which Moore could have done that. But obviously the insurers are going like, no, you've got to limit down what he does. If he's in contact with someone else and he gets thrown around, or someone actually throws a punch and it hits, no, we're not doing it, we're not going to cover that. Terrible, and that's your lead man. But it becomes part of the charm of these movies, is that, you know, you can spot when it isn't Sean Connery, when it isn't Roger Moore. Later movies, that would become a lot less easy to spot, especially in Daniel Craig's tenure. But it only adds to the charm, as I say. So he has a bit of a scuffle there, but he's made an acquaintance with, you know, Barbara Bach. Then they go to one of these great sort of Cairo nightclubs to go and meet somebody else who is going to do a bidding war for the microfilm. You know, we need this. Jaws, he's got like, he's a telephone engineer, and he pulls up outside in this absolutely tiny little van. And it's not tiny, it's just, it looks tiny with he sitting inside it with his overalls on and his big fucking hands on the steering wheel like that. And you're like, if you look at it, the sign on the side of it's in English. He's meant to be the Egyptian telephone engineer. Why would the sign be in English? But anyway, he goes in and makes a phone call. So this poor guy he's doing a bidding war between Russia and England. this poor guy goes out there, excuse me for a minute, and Bond is smelling a rat right away. And of course, Jaws gets him, leans in, takes the bite out of him, gets the microfilm, off he goes. Bond catches up with him and he gets in the back of the van. Just as he's about to drive off, Barbara Bach gets in there as well. And like, so the two of them are together, they're thrust together. And it's great how this camaraderie builds and the rivalry and the teamwork happens, but also like the one-upmanship, because they'll go to the ruins of Karnak, which is a great sequence in itself, another fight sequence between Bond and Jaws. But Jaws, he knows, he's got like a little radio, he can hear them in the back, so he knows this, so he drives them off to these ruins, his little rickety van, gets out of the van and just walks off. And again, they're following a guy that's 7'2", and he just disappears around a monument, and he's gone. But in a great shot, you see him high up above them, and in a great quote from Richard Keel was terrified of heights. He had vertigo, so he said, like, look, I can't get up there. I'm terrified just at my height, meaning just standing on my own 2 feet. I'm terrified. But a huge monolith goes over, almost hits the two of them, and a big fight ensues. The microfilm comes out, Barbara Bach gets the microfilm, legs it to the van, leaving Bond to fight with Jaws a bit more. Jaws gets manoeuvred into swiping one of the foundations, one of the pillars holding up these ruins, and gets bedecked in ruins. But you can't kill this fucker. His hand comes out, they get into the van, Bond's got the keys, Bond's skitting hair driving skills, and next thing, Jaws is tearing open his van like a tin of sardines. He's ripping it to shreds. It's genius. It's played for comedy and tension at the same time. You're terrified of Jaws, but you're having a great laugh at the expense of Barbara Bach and Roger Moore and their little bicker banter in the driving seats. But Jaws is getting in there, and then finally she manages to plow him into a wall, and then shake him off and drive off, and he picks up a huge bloody boulder, big huge building block like that, and then just goes and drops it on his own foot. And it's at that point, folks, that Jaws becomes, oh, you know what? I'm terrified of him, but I like him as well. I understand him. He's coming a cropper, and he's missing every opportunity. He's doing the best he can, but he's not fulfilling the deed. He's great. You're on board with Jaws very, very soon from that moment onwards. Folks, this file's about to stop, so I'm going to just hit that pause button, and we're going to resume in a couple of minutes. I missed the button. Maybe I should be drinking vodka martinis. They're not as strong, trust me. So, now you've got Bond and Anya. They're connected now. General Gogol from KGB and all of MI6 are all in cahoots. These guys have got to work together. So they've got to get to Sardinia, because there's a clue leading to Sardinia. They've got to find out what the hell the connection is to Stromberg. This is what's going on. So off they go on the train. A train. What is it about Bond and trains? He can't get a train without getting someone trying to kick the shit out of him. It happens all the time. But trains make for great, battlegrounds, don't they? So many great fights take place on trains, and the best ones have been in Bond. By far, the most iconic would be Sean Connery against Robert Shaw in From Russia with Love. Bond against Red Grant. Wonderful. The deception comes down and the two go at it tooth and nail, and it's gut-wrenching, it's violent. In Spectre, of course, you had a sort of throwback to that, where Daniel Craig's fighting Dave Bautista, and it's a good fight in an otherwise shit movie, but it's a good fight. It's grueling. It's absolutely knuckle grazing and rib breaking. And you've had it in Live and Let Die. You've had it in so many movies, but Jaws makes an appearance again. Jaws manages to hide inside the little tiny closet in Anya, the KGB Triple X's room. And I love the fact that this is a bit of again, Indiana Jones Temple of Doom, where you had Indiana Jones and Willie, the dancer, Kate Capshaw. They both want each other, but they're both not willing to make that move. So they're both waiting outside each other's, well, their own doors, waiting for the other one to arrive. You've got that happening here, and this is way before Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom. You've got Anya and you've got Bond. Like Bond's connecting, rooms, but like they're both waiting, sort of pacing up and down. You're going to make a move. Oh no, she'll make a move. No, he'll make a move, and it's great. And then she opens up this little closet, and wedged inside is the humongous behemoth that is Richard Kiel. Oh my God, how did he get in there? And with those huge hands, he comes out and he fights with it. He backhands her, knocks her out. Bond hears this, comes in. Massive fight in the train cabin compartment, and it's brilliant. The size of Richard Kiel's hands, sweet Jesus Christ Almighty. Forget in Game of Thrones where the mountain crushes whatever his name's head, and you're going, oh no! And his head just gets crushed. The guy that plays the Mandalorian now, his head got crushed by the mountain in Game of Thrones. And these hands, look at the scale there. Like my head, right? Look in the scale right now. That's Roger Moore's little head, and these hands just come in, and get him by the throat, and they're throwing him against the wall. He's throwing him against the ceiling. He heaves him upside down, throws him against another wall. Oh my God! And Bond uses like a tabletop to wedge him, and then he just picks it up and goes, "What's that looking at?" I mean, Bond, come on now. You're just biding time, Mark. That's what you're doing. And George just goes, bites a chunk out of it, and the fight culminates. Of course, he's got Bond's head like that, and he's leaning in with the metal teeth with a big chomp, a bite on Bond, and not the bite that Bond had in mind for that train session. And like Bond smashes, a tabletop lamp, and the sparks are going, and he gets. If you notice, like Jaws is like that. Shut your fucking mouth, dickhead. Shut your lips and look the other way. What's he gonna do? But no, he's like, and Bond gets it in there. Pizzazz. And then another couple of well-placed kicks. This Roger Moore just kicks and kicks and kicks again. There's a groin kick and a stomach kick, and then he jumps up and like boots him out the window. And Jaws rolls down the hill, hitting power cables on the way down as well. Insult to injury, but just gets up again and like just kind of looks, dusts himself down, straightens his tie, which is a nice mimic of what Bond does. Bond has a scuffle now and again, and then afterwards just goes, straightens his tie, and off he goes. And it's great. It's a nice little Mickey take. The two are set up as like a sort of double act, a yin and yang of each other, as it were. Of course, he will then bed Anya, and the two do become lovers. They will meet Stromberg in Atlantis, both posing, Bond posing as a marine biologist, and she's meant to be his wife, Caroline Munro. Caroline Munro, you were waiting for me to mention Caroline Munro. Voluptuous, Lamb's Navy girl, Hammer Scream Queen. Caroline Munro. I've met her. Is it twice or three? Might be three times actually. Not the cheaty members, but yeah. My God, awesomely gorgeous. She's Naomi. She's Stromberg's assistant. A fly girl in the helicopter, rides up in a yacht, wears nothing but like a sort of a gown and a bikini underneath that, with those humongous yet sexy gap-toothed buck teeth. Yes, I said it. Gap-toothed buck teeth. And still sexy. Yeah, it can work. And she takes them to go and meet Stromberg. And it's just like a bit of a sort of scene setting, like getting the lowdown on each other, trying to size each other up. But it's also it's a very strange sequence, because why the hell does Stromberg knows who they are? James Bond, 007, British Secret Service, and all this kind of shit. Like they always know who he is. That's the thing about Bond. All the bad guys know exactly who he is, but they'll entertain him for a bit, just to haven't they read his dossier? Shit, this guy kicked the shit out of Dr. No and Blofeld and Largo and God, everybody else under the sun. Blofeld several times, in fact. Tell you what, when he gets here, shoot him in the head. Just shoot him in the face. Just do it and be done with it. Don't entertain him. What the fuck's that about? But Stromberg does a little sort of test on him, like, as all those works of art windows go up and you see all these lovely tropical fish. And it's like, and Bond's like, yes, yeah, that's wonderful. Rare marine life you've got here. Yes, we have the beauty and the danger of the depths. So a little clownfish thing, and then obviously the shark will appear. And that's when Bond sees the severed hand of the poor girl that got chomped at the start of the movie. And like, but Stromberg tests him, well, so you of course you'll know what that fish is there. Now, Bond clearly knows what it is because he studied all this. And in a very strange moment, I've always found it a bit weird, a bit odd, the Bond sort of goes, yes, that's the decidui, yeah, well, whatever fucking Latin name for it is. You know, very, very pretty fish, but watch out for those barbs, very poisonous. Oh, I see you know your stuff. Well, obviously, of course I do. But why would you have that hesitation? You know, it's good for us as the audience. We're like, oh shit, it's gonna come undone here. And in the great Ken Adams set as well that you've got there, there's what looks like a huge prehistoric hand. It's the bones of the fin of a blue whale, which are there, and it just looks really, you know, mysterious, enigmatic, and bizarre. And I love it. But of course, they've now met each other. But the meeting's so strange. It lasts two minutes, and he leaves Barbara Bach, Anya, with Caroline Munro, Naomi. So when he comes, the meeting's over. Oh, by the way, he doesn't like to shake hands, you know, because you see that these webbed hands. It's a lovely touch. I don't quite get why it's necessary, but it's a nice touch. So he comes out and meets his missus again, like, oh, Naomi's just been telling me about this super tanker, and that's how they suss on. Hang on a minute. This is the king of our fleet. This is the Liparus. And like Bond's going like, hang on a minute. They get back to the shore, and Q has delivered the goods. He's delivered the Lotus Esprit. That one, yes. Sports car, super amphibian, submarine, with missiles and all sorts. It can spray cement from its arse. You know, it's an incredible device and a wonderful one. Besides the DB5, you know, Aston Martin, this is the most renowned vehicle in all of the 007 canon. And understandably so. It's super sleek, super sexy, super fast, and just it. And the thing is, of course, in that big chase with the motorbike with a sidecar, massive missile that hits a truck carrying mattresses full of feathers, and of course when it blows up and Bond's done that massive, like, he's woven between two oncoming trucks, and this one's been blown up, and they see that the motorcyclist has gone through all the exploded feathers, got coated in them, and then gone off the side of a cliff. And Bond says, brilliantly, all those feathers, and he still couldn't fly. It's genius. But in that sequence again, you've got fantastic aerial choreography. You've got Caroline Munro as Naomi, supposedly flying the helicopter. But you watch that chase again. It's a very brief chase. You've got an interim of Jaws in another car full of other goons, stuntmen, who are all firing guns at him. And you've got Jaws firing him on. Oh, shit. And this other guy comes out with a Mauser, I think it is. Starts firing it, and Jaws just goes, oh, I'm having that. Bang, bang, bang. So Bond sprays the cement. They can't see a thing. They go off the cliff and then drop totally vertically down into this little rural Italian shack, and this guy's singing outside, drinking his own fermented wine or whatever, and this car comes down, poof, boom, and he's like, Mamma Mia! And then George just walks out, and again just does that, like, just kind of like just looks at him. I always thought if Jaws had just like sort of smiled or just winked at him or something like that, but Jaws just kind of just goes, just sort of gives him a saily sort of snarl. I think it should have been something more. It's only a minor nitpick, but it's a fucking great sequence. You watch that helicopter when Bond spins the Lotus Esprit round. The helicopter follows it like that, and he goes off another direction. It has to try and get round again and and it's going nose down after him, firing guns the whole time. That choreography is an incredible feat of stunt work, really well worked out, beautiful stuff. And of course, can you swim? What? And he goes off the jetty, Lotus Esprit goes into the water, the wheels retract, the fins come out, he becomes a submersible. He fires a rocket, a surface-to-air missile, takes out Naomi in a helicopter, so bye-bye Caroline. Sweet Caroline. Boom, boom, boom. And I always think it's a bit strange that she squeals, ah, as they go over. This is Barbara Bach into the water, and Anya. And then they're underwater, and he goes, like, yeah, this is a few modifications from Q. And she goes, I know, I stole the templates 2 years ago. So why were you shocked about going over into the water? You knew what this car could do. But it's a crowd-pleasing moment. And of course, then they have a little battle under the water as well, it's great. And don't forget, there was many Lotus vehicles were made for various bits of stunt work and driving sequences, and one was actually converted into a genuine submersible. Perry submarines made it into a genuine submersible. Basically, a submarine was then a small submarine was housed inside the Lotus Esprit bodywork, but the fins were there, and you see it moving. There's miniature work, there's superimposition, there's visual effect shots, which look great for their time, and they spy around Atlantis, the very big Stromberg stronghold, and they see, hang on a minute, why have they got a huge globe with all glowing dots on it around the planet? And all these guys in like red suits and berets and guns. He's got an army, for God's sake! He's planning something big! Yes, of course he is. And that freighter with its strange bow doors? Yeah, it's all coming together. Stromberg has been nicking submarines. He is in charge because he's told in the little brief meeting he had with Bond, the marine biologist, yes, I'm sick of mankind. I want to make a world under the sea. That's better. In the world of arch-villain monologuing, it's actually quite brief. He'll do a lot more towards the end, but that's quite a very brief sort of like, this is what I want to do. And also, if you think about it, why does he say, listen, take them back to shore, and once they're there, kill them? As I said before, just kill them now. You killed the woman who was a spy for you. You got eaten by a tiger shark. Then, the two guys you were showing that off to, you blew them up in mid-air, killing one of your own men as well. And that's why people always say about like Kurt Jurgens as Stromberg, he's a boring villain. I don't think he is, because I like these moments. Why he just arbitrarily, he's playing with people as well. He knows that this girl has set him up and shopped him to other people for another higher bidder. So he gets it eaten by a shark, but he shows that to these two guys as well. But don't worry, you two guys are safe. Only they're not safe, are they? They take off in one of his helicopters to go back to shore with supposedly 20 million in the bank and peace. But then he just goes, presses a button, boom, blows them up in midair, and then says like, oh, just cancel that money transfer. Oh, and inform the next of kin that there's been a horrible accident and the burial was at sea. But he's killed one of his own pilots. It's just, for me, that's Stromberg just playing with lives. It's his own megalomaniacal ego at play, and I like that. I like the way he's doing that. People go, oh, he's forgettable, but he's. I don't forget him. I like him. I think he's quite chaotically crazy, and in that very staunch Germanic way of just complete, like, I'm not touching your hand. No, I'm not shaking hands. I've got red fingers, for God's sake. I love me fish. I hate you. He's charismatic in a very strange, massively impolite way, and I like it. But anyway, so where do we go from there? What happens now? So you've had the big chase, and everyone knows who's who. Bond and Anya then go on an American sub, the USS Wayne, commanded by the great Shane Rimmer. Shane Rimmer. The thing about Bond movies is they use a lot of American expatriates who were living in the UK. James Cameron did the same thing in Aliens. All the Americans in that were all living in London at the time. So they were all expats doing theatre work or whatever, but they're here at the time. And Bond movies have always been like that, using expats there. And Shane Rimmer and so many others amongst this cast are Americans living in Blighty. And he's great and as this commander. So Anya and Bond get on this, because the idea is, look, you're gonna get fucking caught. You're gonna be bait. Let's see what happens. So they go out there. They get caught by the Liparus, this fucking enormous bloody freighter, which is also an incredible miniature, as I said before. Sucks them in. They realise all the other crews from the Russian and the who's been taken? The Russian and the British ship are all in there incarcerated. So right, we're gonna have to like just fucking break out and fight back here. So I'm gonna condense this now. So Stromberg, who's now on the Liparus and monologuing something chronic here now, he spots that, hang on, that's Bond. And they've already got Anya has tied her hair back and put an American cap on, sort of thing. And you've always seen it in the shower. And like Shane Rimmer said to one of his sailors, "What's the matter, sailor? You've never seen a major taking a shower before?" And like you can see, it's clearly one hell of a gorgeous woman's body in there. And this guy's like that. Yes, sir. And as he walks out, he's shutting the door. He's like that. He's shutting the door, but going like all the way across. So they try and disguise the fact that it's her with all these goons, the hench army. How do you recruit these people? Like, there's a video on that, how you recruit armies for henchmen in Bond movies. There's definitely a video in the making there. So she comes out and like one guy he takes the hat off like that, and in a great movement. And it's, as I say, this is a radical departure for a Bond girl, because she kicks ass, she does, and she's forever using these fucking karate chops, like, and he takes the hat off and her hair cascades, and she just goes, "Fuck off," and knocks him fucking flying. So Bond then takes it, like, boof, knocks him down, and Stromberg's, "Take those two prisoners, bring them to me," only in a Germanic accent, which I can't quite do. So off they plod. It's like, webbed fingers all over there. I'll keep the girl, but you, Mr. Bond, you keep appearing like an unpleasant season, or whatever this fucking line is. So, kill this cunt. But me and her are gonna go jet off in a model car back to Atlantis, and you see this. And it really is a bit of a shit shot, to be honest. In a film where the effects are bolstered with money, elaborate miniatures, great visual effects for their time, great stunt work, great second unit direction, it all works. But you have got this horrible shot of this speedboat going, being exploded out of a portal in the side of the Liparus to go back to Atlantis. And it's a model ship with these little dummies sitting in it. It's like, oh dear. But off it goes. And then Bond just goes, "Right, what, you fuckers gonna kill me now? Guess again!" Beats the shit out of a load of them, fucking punches some, boots some in the balls, gets some bit of machinery, fucking clocks another one, gets a gun, gets into a monocar. There's a monorail inside this. This is that huge set at Pinewood Studios, the 007 set. And incidentally, there was the cinematographer said, like, this is the size of a football field. I don't know how to light this. So on the set, who was someone who was associated with the set and was actually working there, forget what she was doing, was Stanley Kubrick's daughter. And she went, "Oh, fucking hell, don't worry about that, like, my dad's a fucking filmmaker, he'll fucking sort it out for you, don't worry, I'll go get him." So she goes and gets her dad, Stanley Kubrick. So Kubrick comes down and goes like, "Oh yeah, this is no fucking problem, la. Look, what you want to do, like, just get some fucking floodlights here, some spotlights down there, and a big fucking arc light down here, and you're sorted, la." And it worked. Because Kubrick was a Scouser. Anyway, so Bond then he gets on the monorail, kicks shit out of some more people, and then he manages to free all the prisoners. So you get this huge, fantastic war, big battle at the end. Massive, Grenades, M16s, Sten guns. They're using Sten guns. And what I do like about it as well is they go into the armory and you see all the Sten guns have got no magazines in them, and they're getting handed out. And I've always thought, well, when you watch it, you think like, you can't fire them. But you do see another guy's found the magazines and he's handing them out. So that each one gets, you know, an unarmed Sten gun and then gets a magazine for it. And the Yanks seem to find the M16s very conveniently. Massive battle. All our naval dudes, our submariners are fighting these red, scarlet uniformed buffoons for Stromberg. Huge big battle. If you watch, look at that camera thing, which Bond will then sit upon with a huge detonator, because all these, once Stromberg makes his getaway, all the other guys go and hide inside this huge blast-proof sort of control complex. Bulletproof, and they've got little hatches where they can put out flamethrowers and just machine gun all these men trying to assault it. Lots of death, lots of great stunts, lots of grenades. You know, you're on a freighter and you've got non-stop grenades going off. It's wreaking havoc, but it's great. Lots of bodies flying everywhere. Some great stunts, some bullet hits as well. People go and they're getting riddled with bullets, and then tumbling into the water. They've already set loose, you know, the two of the submarines, and the idea is these two are going to like unleash missiles onto Moscow and New York. So there's a time limit already. You've got this camera thing. Now, if you remember Flash Gordon, which came out a couple of years later, and you've got that huge sort of copper disc ball thing, which is like just, it's Ming's camera. Same fucking thing. Exact same thing. And speaking of same things, earlier on in the movie, whether at the naval base of Fastlane up in Scotland, you've got Bond in his full regalia, and they're talking about the mission parameters of all the nuclear subs, and how is it someone knows where to find them? How do they know it? It's because of this tracking system which Q tells them all about. But when you watch the Polaris activation system, listen to it, the pressing of the buttons and the shutters coming across and the thing coming forward. All those effects were used in Aliens when they activate Mother. It's the exact same sound effects for the Mother on the Nostromo. Exactly the same. And I love that. I love that they've done that. It's carried out. No one ever mentions that, by the way. So there you get it from Kilt-Man first. Someone else is going to go like, oh, Kilt-Man, it's already listed and so, yeah. It's one of those things. Whatever. I haven't seen anyone else mention it, so down to me. Detective Kilt-Man. So, they then have to, we can't get through this blast shield, it's bulletproof blast shield. What are we going to do? Well, we've got Polaris nuclear missiles here. Okay, we can use the detonator from one of them. So what are we going to do? We're going to get into one of these nuclear missiles, yeah? And Shane Nimmer's like that. What? He's a fucking commander of a nuclear sub, for God's sake. We're going to get into one of these, and like, we're going to use the detonator to attach dynamite to and a timer, and we're going to blow this thing fucking open. Okay, how do we get it out then? Well, it's magnetic, and here's them Jaws hands again. In one of the, it was a great. It's like the world's most dangerous game of operation, or that thing in the film where you got to go round the thing that, you know, all that. You've got to get it out. It's magnetic, but if the magnets hit, kaboom. Fuck me. And it's like, it's genuinely tense. You're like, all these other sailors are going like, you've done this before, haven't you? Because, and Bond's like, it's the first time for everything. And they're like, it kind of zooms on one guy's face, he's like that. And they're pulling this thing out like, and they're holding it. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, it does actually get, it does hit a couple of times. It doesn't go off. And Bond's just said if it hits that, then boom. Anyway, they get this thing out, finally. Great tense sequence. And they detach the detonator and the charge, a very powerful charge. People always go, well, hang on, that's a nuclear... No, they're taking the detonator and the charge of it. That's what sets off the nuclear device. Remove that, and it just sets off a piece of dynamite or a bit of Semtex or whatever. Whatever. You know, it doesn't have to be a nuclear device. That's the primer, which is going to make the nuclear device explode. So, and Bond gets on top of that fucking... To this music as well. He sits... Well, someone, not Roger Moore, sits on top of this big fucking copper ball camera wear and travels towards this blast-proof door, fucking deposits it, tries to get away. Finally, he does get away, like because of suspense reasons. Boom! All our men storm in there. I'm just getting fucking strafed away. Right, what are we gonna do then? Hang on. There's a big globe there. All these megalomaniacs have a huge globe of the earth, don't they? You know, whoever they get contracted to do this, I want to make a globe here, and the idea is I want you to put little pinpoints of light where I'm going to have nuclear devices or missiles or means of global destruction. Okay. What scale do you want this at? Do you want me to paint it as well? And they've got the two subs going in these different directions, and you see their trajectories. We'll look at their target trajectory, and swap them over. So, in other words, on the deadline, these two subs are going to receive new instructions. Well, we're firing that way now. So the missiles go whoa and blow each other up. Now, in all honesty, if you were the commander of a vessel which you've been training for surreptitiously with some megalomania, we're going to blow up the world, okay? Okay, you with that? You're on board with that? Yeah, okay. Right, so this is what's going to happen. This is the plan. You're going to blow up New York, you're going to blow up Moscow. So at the last minute, all of a sudden you get given new trajectories. You'd be like, hang on a minute, but isn't that's going to land on the other sub? Aren't you in cahoots and communication with each other? What's it matter? Boom, boom, and stock footage of huge nuclear explosions, but at sea. So apparently that's all right. Two, massive megaton explosions at sea. Right. Well, but apparently that's good news. We got away with it. So they man another the last remaining sub, which is the American one, and off they go. They blow those bow doors open with a little normal torpedo, a small torpedo, and off they go. And then of course Bond realizes, they get instructions. Destroy Atlantis. You've got to destroy that Atlantis. In the meantime, Liparus is completely fucking blown up with all the shit that's gone on inside there. They've booby-trapped it and down it goes. No worries there. But Atlantis still exists and Stromberg's on there. So, they get instructions. The Pentagon has said, blow it up. And Bond's like, but Anya's on there, because Stromberg took Anya in that little model hovercraft thing. Shit. Look, how long have I got? Look, I want an hour. Look, James, this is Shane Rimmer again. James, I'm giving him Sean Connery's voice. James, I can only give you 40 minutes at the most. I was like, I can do it. Give me that equipment from Q. So a big totes bag gets unwrapped, and a jet ski comes out. Jet skis. Now this is where this film was really forward thinking, because jet skis were in existence, but no one had seen them until this movie, and they were not commercially available until afterwards. And then, my God, everybody wanted one, obviously. So, excuse me, Bond, in his Royal Navy Commander's uniform, they put this together, and he bombs it across the ocean on the jet ski, and it's Roger Moore doing it. Oh, fucking hell. One of the greatest moments. It's just so electrifying. He's just gliding across the ocean, and he's heading towards the visual and miniature superimposition of Atlantis, but it looks so cool. And he gets in there, and the final confrontation with Stromberg. Mr. Bond, I've been expecting you. You get that line. No, you weren't expecting him, because you thought you'd been killed. You thought you've killed him fucking 15 times already. So, well then again, yeah, because he keeps coming back. Like your own main henchman, Jaws. Nothing can kill him. Nothing can kill Bond. So yes, Bond, I've been expecting you. Take the lift. Come and see me. The lift, you say? So Bond gets in the lift. And of course, Stromberg's with his webbed fingers. Presses the button. The door opens from the lift. Bond's still there. You wanted me to drop in, didn't you? And Bond's got his feet either side of where the trap door's gone. Because Bond ain't stupid. And you've seen that tiger shark waiting, kind of going, Because there must be a message going down to the shark. Food's on its way. So shark, waiting. Bond is there. We're going to run out of time again. So I'm going to pause this again and we're going to resume again. I know, it's going on, isn't it? But it's Aspire Love Me, non-stop. Mr. Bond, please take a seat at the end of my 150-foot long trestle table. But don't worry, I've got a gun barrel beneath the table which is long enough to skewer you, sir. No. So Bond squares off against Stromberg, the final face-off, and this is literally is 40, maybe 50-foot long trestle table, huge bloody thing. And Stromberg's at one end of it, and his paintings are all there, and the seas everywhere, and fish everywhere. And Bond sits down, and he fires this bloody huge, long. It's the most ridiculous thing, you know. And Bond dives out of the way of it, off the chair, and you shot your bolt, Stromberg, and puts his own Walther PPK down the end of this gun barrel, and fires 2 shots into what is Stromberg's groin. So yeah, massively, takes him down, goosh goosh, and he's like, oh. And then I talked about the film For Your Eyes Only, and the way it's regarded as having, Bond's only, well, up until that point, cold-blooded murder, where he kills Locath, Michael Goddard anyway, when he kicks the car over the edge of the cliff. No, he was doing it here as well. Okay, he was shot at first, and yes, this guy was threatening world annihilation. I know, so it's justified. But still, he shoots him twice down that gun barrel in the groin, and then gets up, fires another shot, at his chest, and then another one. So he shoots him 4 times. I mean, at the time, you're not kind of like, well, that's a bit gratuitous, didn't deserve that. Back in the 70s, as a kid, when you were watching it, you thought, ha, just desserts, sir. But it's still, when you watch it now, it kind of, shit. There's a lot of those sort of things they don't get away with now. And I think even the makers have said, if you listen to their commentaries, they're like, well, we couldn't get away with that kind of thing now, because that's going a bit too far. Bond really should have just finish him off with a one-liner and then job done. But no, he's finishing the job good style. Bang, bang, then bang, bang. And as he's walking up, firing more shots into him. And it is kind of it's great. Blowing the webs from between his fingers. And off he goes, trying to find Anya. And of course, he goes down to one of Ken Adams' great sort of on a gimbal sets where it's going to just go one side to the other. Because obviously the Atlantis is now sinking down beneath the waves. All shit's taking place, explosions, all sorts of crap. And water's flooding down the corridors. And it goes like that. And next thing you know, you've got Jaws suddenly comes out. Jaws again appears in his white shirt, his brown kecks and his braces. Just lumbers down a side corridor. And Bond's like, right, fuck you. Bang! Shoots him in the teeth. Quang! Bond's already punched him a couple of times in the steel molars with a great quang, and he's got, like that. Which is just, it's ridiculous, but because what do you think was going to happen? Bond, kick him in the balls. Unless they're steel, you're going to bring him down. Punch him in his stainless steel teeth, and you're going to come off worse, aren't you? But he shoots him in the teeth, quang! And Jaws like that. And then Bond gets a stoppage. Now there's a rarity for you. He gets a stoppage on his Walther. And he has to, he's a bit, Roger Moore's a bit sort of clumsy trying to clear the blockage. But then again, you're in a bit of a panic scenario. There's a 7'2" giant bearing down on you with steel teeth. And it's oh God, like that. And finally he gets a shot back up again, bang! But Jaws has run off down another corridor. And the bullet's missed. And then Jaws, again, with this magical teleporting ability that he has for such a giant fella, suddenly appears behind Bond, grabs him, gun hits the floor, fighty. Bond gets flung into that elevator again. Oh, be careful of these elevators in this Atlantis place. Them floors, slippy. And retracty. But this time it just spins round and spews him out onto a gantry, which is right above the shark park, you know, the shark pool park. So Jaws comes out, and there's a few, and a few body blows, and then Bond gets over the gantry down to another level, and realizes that, hang on a minute, this little control device here, this little gear stick, like that thing you see in the fun fairs, where the lucky grab thing, which you never fucking win on, and it's all like fluffy toys, and there's one that's got like a £10 note or a £20 note attached to it. Well, I'll have that one. And the grabber goes over, and it picks up an ear, and then you go, ooh, and drops it, and you go, fucking hell. It's like that, only you've got this thing, and it's an overhead magnet. Why has Stromberg got an overhead magnet in this aquamarine shark park? Why? Well, I'll tell you why. Because it's a convenient little plot device. Because as Jaws jumps down and begins to advance down on him, Bond activates it, and like Jaws looks up and then goes clang, and he's stuck on this thing. And it's a great shot because even though it's ridiculously inane, you know, you see the stuntman, it's not Richard Kiel, holding on to this huge circular thing, this magnet dish, holding on to it, and you think, oh well, that's a big giveaway, isn't it? He's just got his face against it, he's holding himself on. But as it moves, another shot, his hands are down, and the guy is hanging there, and it does look really good. So Bond manoeuvres him with a smile, over the water, lets him go, releases him into the shark pen. So our friend, that old tiger shark, comes up. Now this is genius, this is absolute genius, because you'd had the film Jaws, you've based the character from Ian Fleming's original novel, and you've called him Jaws, because he's got steel teeth, you called him Jaws. Jaws is massively huge in people's public, you know, psyche. Everyone knows Jaws. This is the 70s. Jaws ruled not just the waves, it ruled everything in the 70s. So, and still does. So you've got Jaws there. Jaws falls in. The shark goes for him. And like Bond's kind of like, oh, I've got you now, you indestructible, my royal English arse. Jaws fights the shark, bites the bloody shark, kills the shark. Jesus. Now you've got to remember, those bits were filmed in the Bahamas where they actually had the real shark, and the shark was not hurt. So don't go worrying that, you know, someone with steel teeth, a stunt diver with steel teeth bit into the shark. Don't worry about that. He's wrestling with it and all that, and there's fake blood going off. But no sharks were harmed in this. I hope not. Anyway, I'm sure they weren't. But it's a nice twist on the Jaws movie legacy. And what would you see 2 years later? Little Lucio Fulci in one of the greatest zombie movies ever, Zombie Flesh Eaters. You have a deadhead under the water who battles a shark and puts the bite on the shark. No way on earth did Lucio Fulci not get that idea from this movie. No way on earth. He got it from here. Because let's face it, no one's ever thought about, oh, a man biting a shark. That was always the joke headline. Man bites shark, or man bites dog, you know. It's a derivative of that, obviously. So, you know, Lucio Fulci took that and ran with it and made it even nastier. Although in that movie, it's a grey nurse shark with its teeth filed down. Not a fan of that, not a fan of that idea, but it's a great sequence at the same time. So I'm caught in that horrible dichotomy of emotions. Don't like messing around with wildlife for the sake of a movie at all. But, you know, in Spy Who Loved Me, shark wasn't harmed. In Zombie Flesh, its teeth were filed down. So I don't know how that shark ended up. But anyway, but it was clearly derived from this movie, and it's a great sequence. So Bond then has to go and rescue Anya. He finds Anya. Now the whole thing is fucking tilting and shrinking and going into the water. Not shrinking, it's just sinking is the word I'm looking for. Sinking into the water. And if you watch that sequence where Bond finds the escape hatch and the little Stromberg's escape valve, little bubble chute balloon submersible thing, full of, you know, champagne and whiskey and vodka and a palatial, interior, all plush, just built for two survivors. And he's trying to, get this hatch open. The water is cascading down. Now, as Ken Adams and everybody says about that set, Christ, once we unleashed the water into that tank, it was dangerous. Now you watch, there's a scene, there's a shot of Barbara Bach when the two of them are opening this. There's plenty of it in this little skimpy little dress which Stromberg's put her into. How rude. She's KGB, don't you know? And she's in this lovely sexy attire and the water's kind of like waist level and the cleavage is out and she's like just watching attentively as Bond's trying to maneuver this sort of, this sort of wheel plate thing to open the hatch. And then just when he gets it up, the water really comes down and she gets, well, I'll reenact it. She's like, boobs, pant, they pant, they pant. And then the water cascades and she goes, ah! And she goes out of shot because she has actually been took about 20 foot down that corridor and she was terrified, as you would be. It's a set, you've got divers, you've got all safety people there, but they're tilting this thing and they're unleashing torrents of water. When water hitteth man doesn't just stand there, man gets swept away. And the same goes for woman too. So, oops, scary scene. And I don't know if it was Ken Adam, I can't remember now, but one of the set designers, the floor gave way because the water hit it, these little gantry plates, hit it at such velocity, he fell 20 foot beneath. So, that's how dangerous this was. So, the Bond movies always were cutting edge when it came to stunts, when it came to effects, pushing the boundaries of visuals, opticals, miniatures, all this sort of stuff. And I know I mentioned the miniatures effects before, because you can tell the Liparis is a miniature, but a bloody big one. You can tell some of the subs are miniatures. You can tell that Atlantis is a miniature, but again, a bloody big one. But that speedboat that comes flying out of the porthole, that's a bit shit, that one. And if you look as well, when Bond and the US submarine crew make their getaway, blowing open the bow doors, and making their getaway initially from the Liparis, you can see as the whole tank is exploding, tons of little Action Man figures dotted all over the gantries in a huge miniature. Sounds so daft, doesn't it? But all these little figures are all dotted around, but they're clearly obvious, and it's like, don't you wish you could go back and just tweak that a bit? But again, that's all the magic of Bond and the suspension of disbelief. So Jaws has took out the shark, Bond has rescued Anya, they've killed Stromberg, I was going to say Stromfeld, or Blowberg, and a big aircraft carrier or warship pulls up with all the KGB operatives, the big ministers and MI6, they're all there. Bond, to make sure he hasn't got the bends there. They came up pretty quickly. It's got like a tracking beacon on it. How do they know it's Bond that's in there? You know what I mean? That's from Atlantis, that's Stromberg's escape chute vessel thing. So how do they know they're assuming it's Bond. How do they know that? Anyway, and then of course it bobs up to the surface and they're all there. Bond, how are you? And he's bedding Anya, and the two of them are nude, and they're like, I'm just keeping the British end up, sir. Ka-ching is right. Détente, methinks. Glasnost. Folks, The Spy Who Loved Me is fucking awesome. Jaws, of course, they filmed two endings where Jaws does die in the ensuing explosions. You see, he's killed the shark, and explosions are going on, and he's all like that in the water. But at the end of the movie, you do see he surfaces in the alternate ending, which they filmed, which is the one that we've got, thankfully. He surfaces and starts swimming off, to adventures and missions and bitings anew. And they brought the house down because everybody took to Jaws. You take into a villain. It's surprising how people can respond to the bad guy so well. And of course, he would return in Moonraker. And I will come on to Moonraker. I know a lot of people don't like Moonraker, and I understand why. I understand all people's misgivings about many of these movies, and many of these movies I can't stand myself for similar reasons. But Spy Who Loved Me goes beyond, critical reproach. Moonraker, I love to defend, and I will do. I'll defend it when I do the big warts and all video on that one. And I love the way the Jaws has to turn around, and I love all the things that happen to Jaws in that movie. He does become a figure of comedy. He still is a threatening presence beyond any shadow of a doubt. That cable car sequence, as he comes near, you are like, oh, I remember the first time I saw Moonraker at the flicks. I was only a kid, and I was like, oh my god, it's Jaws again. Like, and shit. And I was terrified. As he got near it, you were like, sense of dread, because you just knew you can't kill this guy. It doesn't matter what you do to him. He might be a bumbling buffoon at the end of the day, but you still can't kill him, and he will come back. But The Spy Who Loved Me, folks, nobody does it better. Nobody. This was Bond in his absolute heyday. The way Bond has been transformed over the ensuing decades with various other characters. Dalton played him ultra serious, and I love Dalton's two takes. I do. Massively love them. But Brosnan, I applauded at the time, but I look back on the Brosnan era, and I'm not a big fan of Brosnan at all. I like him, the man. His encapsulation of Bond isn't one I find particularly enjoyable to watch. I love GoldenEye, and I do like Tomorrow Never Dies, but the other two were a sack of shit, and there's no two way about it. Just garbage. And Daniel Craig, Casino Royale is awesome. Quantum of Solace has its moments, despite its many, many faults, which have been way documented. And again, I'll probably come on to that and give it a big, massive, defensive, kilted, sort of backing. Skyfall is awesome. A lot of errors, a lot of failings in it, but it's a great, great movie. I do love it. Spectre is an absolute pile of tripe. No matter how you cut it, great train fight, interesting opening sequence, but preposterous. And the whole Blofeld thing, being his half brother and all that, fuck off, fuck right off. And I'm only sorry that one of the films I'm looking forward to hugely this year, well, it was last year, and in fact the year before, because No Time to Die could have come out in 2019, could have. And you can blame a lot of people for it, including Daniel Craig. And then coronavirus, yes. But No Time to Die will eventually, supposedly, hit the UK. Only a few weeks off, to be honest. So, fingers crossed on that. But don't hold your breath. And but it's tying up all the storylines, the whole Blofeld thing. And it's just, you're losing the one-off adventures. The whole Blofeld saga, from Sean Connery, Lazenby into Roger Moore, yeah, that worked, but each movie was still its own standalone movie, still told its own story, and there might be an overlapping thing about Blofeld still being around, but the Daniel Craig thing, they try to make it gritty, realistic, which works to a degree, does, but it becomes a millstone around its neck, and hampers it, and takes out a lot of the enjoyment of that style of movie making, where it should be brassy, ballsy, over the top, bombastic action, really pantomimic in some cases, but even with Daniel Craig's style of realistic, he gets hurt, he gets tortured, but he's built like a brick shithouse and he kicks ass good style, and there's no toupees in sight, that's great, and you can still do it with the old format. And it's the old format which I find works best, where it is stupid, over the top storylines, really, really larger than life, villains and super villains and plots, set piece upon set piece upon set piece. But for me, that's what makes it work. That's the fun element. Now, back to this Spy Who Loved Me. The direction is tremendous. I forgot his name again. Lewis Gilbert, isn't it? Who directed it? Lewis Gilbert. Lewis Gilbert, I'm right. Now, you tend to think that of a Bond movie, especially the Bond movies from the 70s and 80s, where, well, the director is just directed in, in title alone, because mainly it's second unit who do all the best stuff on it. Well, The Spy Who Loved Me, it's the interplay as well. It's the banter, it's the direction between the action scenes, which actually still works really well. The exotic locations, the suspense and build-up in the Cairo and the ruins of Karnak, all that is tremendously well done. And that's Lewis Gilbert doing all that. The second unit stuff, the action set pieces are fucking great as well. And they go hand in hand. All the characters work. Jaws is outstanding. Shandor, even though he's only barely in it, but he still makes an impact. Naomi doesn't do a great deal apart from fly. Well, what did Caroline Munro do? What did she actually do in this movie? She rides up in a yacht looking gloriously sexy. She struts around Atlantis showing off models of ships. And then she sits supposedly in the cockpit of a helicopter chasing Bond and firing machine guns. Not a great deal, really. It's only literally, if you look, you tot up her screen time, you're talking about 4 minutes, if that, but she still makes an impact. A double impact. He's 007, she's just 00, majesticals. And, but everyone does well. The music, Marvin Hamlish, I discussed it all before, it works superbly. In that previous video, I was going on about a piece of music which you don't get on the album, and it's hard to get hold of, but if you know where to look, you can find it. And I've played it a couple of times throughout this, so I'm going to play it again. And it is the start of the motorbike car chase with the Lotus Esprit, and it's the motorbike sidecar when Bond realises, and they come up behind him. And I didn't have this when I did the music video, but I was saying I love this intro to this action scene. You're going to hear it now. And the sidecar goes off. Hits the back of that big model truck. Kaboom, boom, boom, boom. Awesome. But we're going to finish off, of course, with Bond 77, the Bee Gees influence track. This movie, folks, I know this video's gone on forever, and those of you who are still here, I applaud you. You've passed your first phase of MI6 selection. You've got Blofeld terrified now. And there's M. There. It's the Star Wars era. Model work, visual effects. They knew Star Wars was huge, so they had to up the game accordingly as well, but put it in the Bond universe. But the Bond universe would expand again because Star Wars' legacy just built and built and built. So where else could you go after Spy Who Loved Me and saving the planet? Bond had to go into space. And not everyone was on board for that one. On the jet skis. Or it was called like a sea bike at the time, something like that, a water bike. But Roger Moore, never more iconic than he is in this movie, wearing his naval gear on the jet skis, taking the lead, taking point with US and British submariners, leading the attack. Incredible, totally incredible, looking great as well. The bit on the monorail where he fucking hoofs. He's got a stangle on the guy driving it. Call him over, and this guy goes, "Hey you!" And this other luckless guard comes over, and Bond's foot just goes, "Fuck off!" takes him out, and he goes bang, and smacks the other guy out of it. Roger Moore's Bond did kick ass. It became preposterous in the likes of A View to a Kill and Octopussy even, but Live and Let Die, Man with the Golden Gun, this and Moonraker, it works. Him doing roundhouses and those kicks, it works so well. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this. This was a massive tour through The Spy Who Loved Me and all the beauties that lie therein. It isn't even a gargantuan movie. You're talking just over 2 hours, and it crams in so much. Global threat, super terrorism, battles, armies, stunts, quips aplenty, and sexy ladies. Really? Could you ask for more? No Time to Die is clocked in at 163 minutes. It fucking better deliver and put the goods in there. Folks, I have been and always shall be Kilt-Man. Always at your service. No matter what the mission, I'm always here. So folks, please keep it Kilted, keep it Celtic, be happy, be healthy, and just be yourselves. And have fun doing what you do. Just do it well. Just do it to the best of your abilities, because nobody does it better. He just dropped in for a quick bite. Later.